Hello, today I would like to show you the simple concept, prototype pretty much, of, well, it's not a game, it's just a prototype I'm working at. I was trying to figure out a interesting movement in Godot for a vector drag and drop mouse movement. So I just created like this simple prototype. Well, simple. I'm gonna explain in a while why it's actually not that simple as I thought at first. Well, let me just show you the simple game loop I've created just for testing. So this is like the player with the HP and the enemies obviously with the HP. There's a simple logic that the objects collide. It just declines the player HP and the enemy's HP. There are already exported settings, so I can change the enemy damage, the amount of damage the enemies can do, and the amount of damage the player can do. And there is also the movement and the simple logic that enemies just try to reach the player. Plus there is, like, as you can see, the 1 HP enemy was killed fast. There's also the rule that the first hit from the player is actually... So the rule is that the entity that hits first deals the damage, yes? So, because I wanted to create a logic that gives the advantage to the player to just maneuver the enemies and hit them first to take less damage. But obviously, once the enemies we are in contact, the next interaction will also deal damage to us. So it's like, you know, just the first attack. So, you know, you can develop this into like a larger or more complex mechanic in the future with like weapons or like power-ups you can pick up that give you more time when you can take damage or increase your damage, and so on, so on. As you can see here, I can modify the player HP, so I can like change it to 20, and the damage amount, let's say like something insane like 5, and I can change enemy's HP to, let's say, let's just double it up. Let's leave it like this. Okay, let's restart concept. As you can see now, oh, but it's a bug and I found it already, so I think there's like kind of the limit in the code that says the HP. Well, I'll have to check it, but okay. It's always good to test things out because, as you can see, there are some things I haven't anticipated. I think there might be some kind of limitation in the code as to how much HP the player can have. I will have to test it for sure. So what was to me the most bizarre thing is that the concept is, as you can see, very simple. There's nothing pretty much going on. I just added some simple backgrounds so I can track the movement of the camera and if it's smooth or not. So, you know, I want some kind of simple pattern. As you can see, it's pixelated to the maximum because I just need some kind of background. The enemy logic and so on is still very simple and complex, and still the amount of code, even though I created like the autoload script that allows me to set up a lot of parameters, and also I want to equalize the rules, how the enemies and player move. So I wanted to make sure that they move in the same logic. So it's not like the player has some kind of different approach, because approach to the movement and the basic. I just want to make sure that both enemies and the player are, well, let's say, bound to the same kind of physics and same rules, so like in the real world. Also because this pretty much, I think, so I'm not still yet that much experience in the Godot and the Godot script, but in my opinion this simplifies further development. So if everything works under the same basic rules, I can just change some stuff around, let's say in the level design or the surfaces the player can move, and so on, and everything will apply to it straightforward without much of coding required in the future. So I made like this autoload script with also some basic debug settings, so I can, you know, enable and disable the debug mode, so I can see what's going on here, like the positions, who did damage to who, and what amount of damage, and so on. And also there's like the character movement script, which is like crazy. This is something that I wasn't expecting, to be honest, but as I can obviously hear and you know already from my introduction video, well, I don't have much experience in game development, so the concept that I just drew on the sheet of paper and just write up the basics I want to create actually required quite a lot of lines of codes. I think there's like 150 of them. Well, more, even more like 270 already, and it's very simple mechanic, and it's very simple. I can imagine I could probably simplify the code by a lot, and you know, just do a lot of shortcuts and make the code much more cleaner and optimize it a little bit better. But you know, for the prototyping, I don't think that's really necessary. The enemy script is also when I started, when I just implemented the basic movement and the movement for enemies, it was like maybe 30 or 50 lines of code. Now it's also close to 200, so that's already 400 lines of code just for the enemy and the tractor movement. The level, this is a new implementation. I'm just testing out some things here. I'm trying to I'm trying to generate terrain pretty much using the tile map from Godot, but I still struggle to get a hang of it. I get a lot of errors, so for now, for this presentation, I'll just remove the nodes and just left the script to work further on it. And that's pretty much it. So, very simple concept, very simple prototype, and already so much code to write, and a lot of, trust me, I did it like, it took me like 1 day to develop this, pretty much from scratch. So from the idea I came up with during the weekend to actually implementing it. And I'm a little bit overwhelmed how much code it required. If it's normal actually, and that's something that I shouldn't really be worried about, and please let me know in the comments below. But well, I'll give you an update in a few days how this developed, and maybe I can show you the concept with like, you know, the more juicy stuff, so like the enemy graphics pretty much. Also, I hope I can handle by then the tile map and, you know, just some procedural generation of the terrain of the level. So there are some obstacles that players and enemies can collide with. So, you know, the whole movement idea is, and you know, just it's more complicated. For now, I have implemented like the limitation for just, you know, the size of the level. So as you can see, it's still not connected with the background, but as you can see, I'm already hitting the boundary here. So this, at least this thing is working so far. I would like maybe also to consider making the movement a little bit more dynamic. Well, I don't know yet. I will see. So far, like, there's a simple idea. You just sit there in front of the screen, chill and relax, and you just drag the mouse and kill enemies. And you know, the complexity of the game with each level is rising. So there are more obstacles, the enemies have more HP, they move faster, maybe they have some more advanced logic. So instead of just following the player, there prioritize power-ups if there are any on the screen. So they try to pick up the power-ups, or get at least maybe pick up the power-ups and take them for themselves. That's a really complex mechanic. I'm not sure if I could code it at the moment with the knowledge I have, but for example, I could just make the enemy guard the power-up, so the player has to kill him before he can pick him up. So that gives interesting strategy options. Maybe I want to ignore the enemy at the power-up and just race to the exit of the level, because the idea will be like, you always have to reach from the left to the right side of the screen. So you're starting somewhere in a zone, let's say in a random position left side of the screen, and your task is just to get to the right side of the screen. You can kill the enemies, that's for extra score, or you can just try to outmaneuver them just to as quickly as possible reach the other side of the level and get to the next level, so on. So that the basic game loop is like forcing player to have some kind of strategy: kill enemies, get more score, pick up the power-ups, or just race to the other side of the screen to complete the level as fast as you can. Because I think the final thing I would like to implement is the score based on the speed of the player, so how fast you can reach the exit, and also how many points you can get. So the strategy will be, maybe it's better to just move fast, ignoring everything, to get more score for speed. But then on the other hand, you're losing a lot of score from ignoring the enemies and the power-ups. On the other hand, if I balance it well, maybe actually playing faster than actually killing enemies might be a valid strategy, but not necessary on some levels, and so on. You know, there is some complexity that can be added out to it, but it's just simple prototype at this moment, so there is As you can see, I have some ideas, but there is a lot of implementation involved to actually make it work. Anyway, I wanted to keep it short, so thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please write them below. I'll try to read them in a free time and answer them all if possible. And see you soon in the next video.